Welcome friends and neighbors from all around the world to the next project. Today we're kicking off a mod project, something Fender flavored. This is a Starcaster, which in this case just means think Stratocaster style body guitar. It's got the old vintage style headstock, Fender-ish body. It's got the cuts and swoops in it. All looks pretty good. It feels like a Strat. Looks like a Strat. That's about it. It stays in tune right here. Progressively sharp as you go toward the bridge, so the intonation is all wonky back here. The bridge is also screwed so tight to the body that I'm guessing whoever originally owned it just snapped the arm off because they couldn't do their Van Halen super dives or anything. The frets are sharp, they'll make you bleed, really. They've bled me a couple times. Tuners, by name only, these are actually, I think, Fender detuners. So we're going to replace those with something that are actually just tuners. Put some pickups in it that actually don't sound like they're underwater or muddy. These ones are kind of muddy. It's got bells and whistles. You can turn here and flip there. It's got this boat jack in it. I like that. That's going to get maybe reused. I don't know what the plan is yet. We're going to cut it apart, put it back together, and make something a lot better. Well, let's start the next project. In all my haste and hurry to get this project underway, I first needed to figure out the intonation issue with this guitar. And to do so, I just needed to set the intonation to determine if the bridge was actually in the right place. As I set the intonation, I found that the G, the A, and the E saddles were maxed out. I had to crank them all the way back. And that didn't actually leave me enough adjustment on the A and the E saddles. So, I know where the bridge was originally mounted. Now, I need to determine where the bridge should be mounted and determine where the new screw holes should actually be. So now I'm one step closer to having this project complete. Yeah, right. Overall, the teardown went really well. It's pretty easy. Nothing was rusted or corroded or stuck, so it all came apart. There was a bunch of gunk and fuzz and, well, things that I don't even want to know what they were inside. But who knows where this guitar was. It might have lived under a bed for a year or 10. Probably had somebody's nasty paws all over it for a while. But honestly, the frets were barely showing anywhere at all. But once I took the scratch plate off, boy, it looks like a bomb went off in there. Really nice work by the factory. You gotta appreciate craftsmanship when you see it. And the neck pocket. It looks like they routed it for whatever neck they may have on hand. A little rough. Oh, and those frets. Ooh. The guitar is all torn apart except for frets and the neck. The neck itself isn't too bad, but it's interesting. It has not a compound / conical radius fingerboard. It has a meandering radius. It has a little 9, a little 10, a little 9, a little 11, a little something else. Not quite 12, not really 9, not anything really. Kind of in between everywhere. We're going to pull frets and re-radius this whole thing using our router radius contraption fixture. Then there's the back of the neck. And again, it feels pretty good, but as you look down the length of it, you can see a slight wave to it. And I just happen to have this StewMac 1992 Strat C profile template guide. I think it's a guide. Gauge. And on the first fret, you can probably see a little light showing through there. So it's close, but you know, this is the 7th fret, 5, 6, 7. That's actually pretty close. And then we got the 12th fret here on 12. That looks pretty close too. So this neck is, for the most part, a 92 Strat C neck. But we're going to get it closer. I'm going to resand the back of the neck, we're going to reshape the top of the neck, and then it'll get refretted, and what? I don't know. As we continue the next project. I really did expect this to take a metric Allen wrench for the truss rod. I tried a 4mm, too small. 5mm, too big. 4.75mm was perfect. Oh, wait a minute. That's a 3/16. Once I got the truss rod wrench issue sorted out, I did give it a very slight adjustment. It really didn't need much. And then we were moving right along to using the radius fixture and just cruising along. The first couple passes, I was really excited. I was like, man, this is going to take nothing to get it leveled out. You know, halfway across the board, I was still going, this is looking really good. And once I got toward the treble half of the board, it started to look a little funny. It honestly looked like there's a hump in the fingerboard, but based on the radius gauges I used on it, I'm really thinking this was the area between roughly the 3rd and the 9th fret was where the radius was up in the 10, 11 range. Down by the nut, it was just under 9. Above the 12th fret, it was actually in like an 11 range, but it dropped off pretty drastically on the treble side. Not a twisted neck, just a screwed up neck. Really screwed up. As I watch the video, I'm really kind of horrified by the depth, or what appears to be the depth of cut. And I did have to take off a fair amount. It was roughly 25 thousandths total between two passes. And that was more than I had hoped. I was hoping I could get by with, 5 thousandths or so. But once I realized that the treble side dropped off so terribly between the 12th and the 21st fret, I knew I had to take a big jump up. So I did a little measuring, and we ended up with roughly 25, maybe 22, 25 thousandths off the top of the fingerboard altogether. Turned out really good, and it's going to make a huge improvement. Well, everything will make a huge improvement. This is just one part of that puzzle. Re-radiusing the fingerboard went really well. Used the router radiusing fixture that I have posted a video about, and I'll put a link to it in the description if I remember. Got that all done. One thing I didn't really think through was placement of the original side marker dots, and ideally it wouldn't be an issue. And for the most part, it wasn't an issue, except for the 5th and 7th side marker dot on this are not in line with the rest of them. They're a little high, a little shallow. So they're really close to the surface of the fingerboard at the 5th and the 7th. So what do? I can throw it in the fireplace. That's one option, but it's really hot. I don't need to run the fire for a while. I could try to figure out a decorative way to notch into the fingerboard and create a side top marker dot, but I've already got face marker dots. I don't need more. I could remove the whole fingerboard and put a new fingerboard on. That sounds like a lot of extra work. So I got thinking, and looking through my scrap bin, I have some maple that I ripped down into 1/4 inch square by however long that might be pieces. What I'm thinking about doing at the moment is taking and cutting about a 1/16 of an inch wide by whatever depth the fingerboard is, notch all the way along on both sides, and gluing this in and then re-sanding everything to make it nice. That way I'll have hidden fret ends as well. So that's kind of a bonus. Open a can of worms, get myself in trouble, and maybe end up with a fix that will look really good. Maybe. I keep trying. Let's continue the next project. With the fingerboard re-radius to where I wanted it, and the realization that the fret marker or side markers weren't all in line and where I wanted them, I sulked for a little while, then picked myself up and realized I needed to do some work. I used a wheel marking gauge to mark in about 1/16 of an inch all the way along. I put some blue tape down to protect the maple fingerboard. Used some high-tack double-sided tape and a 1/4 inch thick piece of, I believe this was maple that I used as a spacer. And on top of that, I put a piece of rich light fingerboard material that I have, just a big rectangular piece right now. It works perfectly for a straight edge for this. I used a mortising router bit with a bearing, added a couple lines of tape to it just to thicken it up a bit. Did all of my passes in small increments to keep from tearing things out, and then peeled the tape off to get my final depth of cut. Here I'm sanding the new side maple binding strips that I'll be using. What I'm doing is basically sanding out any saw marks that might be in the maple binding strips, just so they fit up as tight and precisely as possible. Using some Titebond glue, professional applicator there, I think it was an index finger. Yeah, index finger applicator. And more blue tape. And I thought about using my big rubber band, but it was way over there and I was right here, so blue tape was within reach. Checking in, getting more done. We've got the new binding glued on the edges of the fingerboard, taped in place. Just using blue painter's tape, and of course I ran out of tape partway through the second piece, so I had to bust out a new roll right off, right away. Gotta be prepared. Gotta always have tape on hand. Anyway, it's gonna look good. Got plenty of glue in there. I will have to clean out the fret slots a little bit, possibly. I put the glue on the strips, not on the fingerboard. I don't know. Maybe a good idea, maybe not. We'll find out. Anyway, we've got to let this dry, and then we'll move on to whatever's next. Probably working on the back of the neck once this is all dry. That'll be another day. I would like to thank everybody for hanging with me and jumping in at the beginning of this new project. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure there's going to be some strange things happen, and we'll have to figure out how to fix. Please leave comments, hit the thumbs up button, ring the bell, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I greatly appreciate it. Till next time, take care of yourself and those around you. Bye.